more viewpoints on one of history's most controversial personalities. We are now joined live in the studio by Viktor Linik from the Moscow-based Slovo newspaper. You are the editor-in-chief of this Moscow-based paper.
Right.
Thank you for coming on our set today.
Thank you for having me.
Stalin died 56 years ago.
Right.
But in recent years, we've seen almost a growing cult-like intrigue in the guy. Why do you think this is?
Because I think over the decades, as a matter of fact, since his death, I think people have come to realize more the scope of his personality. That he was, yes, he was an evil genius. You know, a Russian poet, greatest Russian poet, Pushkin said, evil and genius are two things incompatible. They are compatible. And I think people have become to realize that, yes, we have, they have, and we have, as a matter of fact, as a nation, a very strong leader, albeit his ruthlessness and his crimes, if you will, although all the crimes of that era cannot be ascribed to Stalin alone. This is ridiculous when people just pinpoint him as the one who perpetrated everything.
Well, I mean, speaking of pinpointing, the Western Hemisphere, politicians and the media from day one have always been very anti-Stalin. Why do you think this is? I mean, could it be rooted in the geopolitics of that era?
If you would recall what those Western leaders, the best actually Western leaders of the day, say 40s, during the Great Patriotic War, said about him, you'd be very much surprised. Because all of their pronouncements in those days, you know, spoke about the greatness of Stalin, about how he helped the West to override the Nazi armies. And so I think the West had a very high opinion of Stalin. U.S. President Roosevelt, Winston Churchill of Great Britain.
But it's all an issue of objectivity. Who is best to analyse the times of Stalin? Are we talking politicians, the media, historians, the average everyday Joe?
I think people start to judge him just basing their judgment on the common sense, as such. The country, yes, went through a very tough period during 30-some years of Stalin's rule, but it's also had its greatest achievements. And some of those achievements attest to Russia's strength and prestige in the world today, like the atom bomb, like the space orbiting, and things like that. So in that sense, I think we are still drawing on what Stalin had as his legacy for us.
Indeed, his legacy living on in the hearts and minds of many. Recent opinion polls show that the elderly are more likely to support his legacy, but we've seen a growing interest among the youth of Russia today. Why do you think that is?
Well, people, again, and a lot of Russians, and young Russians for that matter, are longing for that image of Russia's greatness that is very strongly associated with Stalin. That is why he is becoming very popular, and I think will be ever more popular, even with the young people.
So you see the intrigue even growing?
Yes.
So do you think he already has a cult status?
Well, nothing of the kind that we used to have when he was alive, but obviously we certainly did have a cult of personality, but we had personality first of all.
Well, let's talk about not just what the history books are going to say, but what people are going to say 150 years from today. If you could boil it down to one real memory of Stalin, what would people think of him 150 years from now?
A great leader who had to take a lot of risks to pull the country through them, and who, yes, perhaps sometimes overstepped some things that under normal circumstances you would not do. But how Napoleon is remembered in his homeland, how Oliver Cromwell, for that matter, is remembered in Great Britain. I think history will judge Stalin objectively, and will have that very soon.
Well, you certainly shed light on a very interesting subject there. Viktor Linik, the editor-in-chief of the Slovo newspaper based in Moscow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.